Good morning and welcome to the Sports Carnival, broadcasting live from the Trauma Center studios. Now for the guy who, believe it or not, was conceived on a grassy knoll. Here's your host, Dave Kearney.
Hey, I thought I was going to be introduced every day as your favorite asshole. You know, that's a Disney movie coming soon to theaters near no one.
I can start with that. I can go back and we start over.
No, that was pretty good. Conceived on a grassy knoll. Well, I tell you, it was that magic bullet that got that done because, you know, when I was born, I fell out into a box of glitter, been shining ever since, baby. So thank you for that. Boy, Chad, we got a chilly start to the day here in Wisconsin, but it's going to warm up to like the mid 40s, almost 50s throughout the rest of the week. What are you guys like right now out there in Washington? Because, see, the Trauma Center studios broadcast from both coasts here. What do you like out there in Washington?
It says on my fancy computer, but it said this yesterday and it lied. Snow off and on today.
It lied.
It lied yesterday. It said snow off and on yesterday, and I didn't snow.
Okay.
So I don't know if it's like, too broad of an area that it's covering, and it's not exactly snowing where I'm at. It's snowing up in the mountains, but supposedly we're getting snow. I hope not, but we'll see. It's cold. I'll give you that.
When you have some snow in the forecast, it's funny how people like to look at it. Either they look at it with great aplomb because it's one of their favorite times of the year. They get to wear winter clothes and snow pants and go skiing or sledding. And then there are guys like you and me who, when we hear the forecast of snow, we sort of scratch our heads and say, is there a hibernation hole that's around here somewhere? And if so, how soon can I jump into said hibernation hole? But in all honesty, for what it's worth right now, Chad, coming off of some really cold weeks here in Wisconsin, the 40s, it's going to feel like an absolute gift and a treat. And for what it's worth, I hope that everybody that's watching or listening this morning is off to a really good start. I want to send a shout out to a guy that, Chad, was a real big part of the P1 fan club back in the day from Tomah, Wisconsin. His name, Tomah Dan. Now, Tomah Dan reached out to me yesterday and had a little bit of confusion on exactly how he was supposed to interact and engage with the show. I sent Tomah a message. Dan, I hope you're able to watch or listen to the program this morning. Chad, this was one of our favorites and one of those all-around good dudes, right? You meet him out there and, you know, you shake hands and you find out that this is one of the people that they consider salt of the earth, which I've never understood because salt actually kills earth, but that's a different story for a different day. But he's like one of those salt of the earth dudes. And Dan, I hope you're off to a good start and I hope you're able to listen. We'll get you linked up with the program some way, somehow.
Maybe that's derivative of salt used to be a medium of exchange, and it was extremely valuable at one point. Maybe that's the reason why that salted there. I don't know that for sure. I just pulled that out of my ass, but there you go.
I like that because otherwise I'm thinking, what do you do when you want to kill all things that live? You pour salt on the ground. I mean, literally, that's what you do. If you want to ruin a crop, you go pour salt on that thing and it's dead. You kill snails with salt.
Either that or you have Matt LaFleur coach it. Either way. What?
Whoa, shots fired here on the Sports Carnival. Not even a game day yet this morning. But, Chad, it's interesting that you mentioned little problem with the Green Bay Packers. So we had our Green and Gold insider, Joe DeGuano, on the other day. And, boy, Joe's been tweeting out some stuff all about the inner workings of the Packers' decision-making and what exactly the front office and the coaching staff and the players are going to have to work up this offseason. We've got a poll question on our Twitter feed at the Sports Carney, as well as our Facebook group page. Chad, the question is this: if the NFL offseason started today, what would be the biggest need for the Packers to address? And the ways that you can answer this are wide receiver, offensive line, quarterback, defense, or special teams. If you were to take a stab at this one, you know, just off the top of your head, where would you vote this morning?
New coach.
Okay, that wasn't an option.
That's what I would say.
Hey, we can add that on Facebook. That's one thing we can do.
Your coach has a hockey name. Send him to the rink. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. All right. And listen to this and look at this, ladies and gentlemen. This is Tomah Dan, and Tomah Dan's checking in with us on Facebook. I'm glad that you're here, buddy. I'm glad that you're here, and thank you. I'm glad to be back. I'll tell you what, Chad. I miss these dudes and the ladies that listen as well, as much as anybody could in the absence. Fortunately, it wasn't too long of an absence, but Dan, really glad to see you back and with the program. Hopefully we get you off to a really good start. Eric from La Crescent's jumping in already. He's like, top of the morning.
He says he was in a self-induced coma.
That's okay. That's what you do after the Vikings lose 40-3, Chad. Eric from La Crescent, big Vikings fan. Minnesota got undressed something awful on Sunday. listen, I thought the Cowboys would win. I thought they would cover, but with the spread just being 1.5, I didn't take a play on this one. And now I feel kind of stupid that I didn't because, boy, did Dallas just lay it on Minnesota. Minnesota, though, they get an interesting rebound opportunity against the now struggling New York Football Giants. This is a game that if Minnesota wins, I think it goes ahead and solidifies their really, really good season so far. Every game that Minnesota had won has been by less than one score or less. But if they can beat this Giants team, who, again, just recently lost to the Lions, I think Minnesota is going to be back on track. And the rest of the season, if you're a Vikings fan, is going to go pretty much as good as you could expect.
Well, you and I are kind of talking off the air. I think with that Giants loss and that Minnesota loss this weekend and the 49ers win last night, kind of changes the picture in the NFC. And you have to start asking that question, who is actually the best team in the NFC?
That's something.
Maybe the 49ers.
Well, that's something that we actually have to litigate because this is a guy, I'm going to throw out a name that people just love to hate in Wisconsin, Troy Aikman, who I don't find to be terrible. I don't find his analysis terrible.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. He's a Cowboys quarterback, smug and Cowboys quarterback. I think that comes part and parcel. People seem to love Tony Romo, though, because, again, he lived in Wisconsin. So there's that. My point is this. Troy fucking Aikman said that after the game last night, which the San Francisco 49ers, I mean, they just straight laid the wood to the Arizona Cardinals, 38-10. He said that without equivocation, the San Francisco 49ers are the team to beat in the NFC, and he feels that at this point in time, they are the favorites to represent the NFC in this upcoming year's Super Bowl. And look, there's still a lot of football to be played, but we were also talking about this before we kicked off this morning's program. Jimmy Garoppolo, when he plays and he plays well, he has now set a San Francisco 49ers record, a career record, 14 consecutive games, Chad, in which the 49ers have won if he doesn't throw an interception. The great Joe Montana, 13, and somebody whose name you probably wouldn't have expected to see in that list, Colin Kaepernick, actually won 13 consecutive games for San Francisco without throwing an interception. Look, Christian McCaffrey, we both talked about that trade at the time and what a big piece he could be for Kyle Shanahan. What you're seeing from McCaffrey is always what you thought you would see from him out of college. Just nobody knew how to use him quite right. Now that he's with San Francisco, George Kittle's popping, Brandon Ayuk, good God. And then they've got this guy, Deebo Samuels, who nobody can tell what he is, a wide receiver or a running back.
He's just a stud.
He's just a stud, and he just runs down everybody's throat. They can't do anything to stop him. It's kind of like the momentum of this program. You can't do anything to stop it, damn it. And we're so glad to have Toma Dan back on. We're going to step aside, take a quick break. When we come back, broadcasting live from the Trauma Center studios, Chad, I want to talk some Bucks basketball. They got a nice win last night. Then we're going to talk some Eagles football because UWL head football coach Matt Janus is going to be joining us at 8:30. Stay tuned. What can I say? The Recovery Room on 7th and Mississippi Street is not only my favorite bar in all of downtown La Crosse, Wisconsin, it's my favorite restaurant in all of downtown La Crosse, Wisconsin. Breakfast served 8 to noon, Saturday and Sundays, daily specials, incredible cocktails, and the best damn wait staff in the entire city. My buddy Matt knows how to treat you right, and that's why when you go to the Recovery Room on 7th and Mississippi, you're always going to have a great time and a great meal with a great cocktail. So if you haven't been in a while, or perhaps you're just regular and you want to stop in again, make it a thing. I'm there every single week. How about you?
This is Tailgating Tales with Bert Kowalski, episode 22. There'll be no toilet wine before it's time.
It was late September of 92. The Bengals are in town and managed to take out Packers starting QB, the Magic Man, Dan Majkowski. Inner stage left, and then fresh-faced Brett Favre. Engineers a beautiful fourth-quarter comeback to beat Cincy 24-23. It began a 15-year bromance with the state of Wisconsin and cheeseheads worldwide. Meanwhile, I'm in the Lambeau Field parking lot, where I've enjoyed every home game since I was knee-high to a Milwaukee's best tall boy. This is where the tale takes a twist. Majkowski's out, the pack is in jeopardy, and I'm out of beer. Lucky for me, Lou Three Fingers Nelson, who did a stretch in Joliet, always had a fresh batch of toilet wine brewing in his mini Winnie. I was 6 cups in and barely coherent when Favre threw that TD to Kendrick Taylor for the win. God bless Favre, and God bless Three Fingers Toilet Wine.
Favre put it right on the line. A perfect pass, a perfect catch by Kendrick Taylor.
Back to the Sports Carnival, broadcasting live from the Trauma Center studios. Is it just me, or does the sight or sound of Taylor Swift make you want to choke a bitch? And here's your host, Dave Carney.
Man. I'm Dave Carney. This is Chad the Forester, Chad the producer, and boy, Taylor Swift, the Swifties. We better watch out, man, because you're going to end up having to get a restraining order. Then you'll tell Taylor Swift, look, it's not just you. I've got to have a restraining order too because your music makes me ill. I ran into some people over the weekend, Chad, and I'm serious. These were men. These were men in their late 20s that went on and on and on about learning the guitar to Taylor Swift songs.
Wow.
And I'm going to tie something back to yesterday, and you didn't think that this was going to come up. What do David Schwimmer, soccer, and Taylor Swift have to do with each other? It's called the emasculation of the American male. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. And for anybody that wants to know what's going on in Qatar, the World Cup, we're not going to talk about this because, dude, I saw a really scathing expose last night on Qatar and the World Cup and exactly what they are doing and have done to get this thing off the ground. First of all, the World Cup's supposed to be in the summertime, right? But of course it's in Qatar where the summer temperatures reach up to 125 degrees in the daytime. They've moved it to winter, and there are so many, Chad, like I say, I watched this expose last night on the Qatar World Cup. There are so many things going on with Qatar and what they did with that fucking gangster organization, FIFA, to put this whole thing on. I'm out. And you know what? It feels like the United States got that memo because they were up on Wales, a country whose population is roughly that of Connecticut. The United States was up on Wales until the 80th minute of yesterday's match. They tie, and now they've got a 1-point tie with Wales. Meanwhile, England gets a win over Iran. They're going to steamroll through the group. It's over already for the United States. Don't worry about it. It's soccer. It's not football. It's soccer. We can get back to American sports. And good God, if we can save the American children, the American boys especially, we've got our work cut out for us here. We've got our work cut out for us. But we'll do what we can, Chad.
Yeah, I haven't really paid much attention to any of it. I did see the 1-1 tie. Another reason why I don't like that sport. Way too many ties. It gets old. I need a conclusion. I need a finality. I need some kind of resolution in my sports.
Yeah,
and I know there's ties in the NFL, and I know there's ties in hockey, but I don't like it.
Nobody does. And ties in the NFL, ties in hockey, ties in soccer, that's not a thing. Why is it that basketball, the great game of basketball, can figure out how to end a game, right? Like this is one of the reasons why I'm a big fan of games with clocks. And I mean hard clocks. Like, see, soccer, you just added extra time. Well, we're just going to add some extra time.
Hard clocks, right?
Yes, I did.
Okay. I just clarifying. Okay.
I mean, unless we're at a Neil Duda cuckold party, in which case, that'd be something else. It's one of those things whenever you have extra time that's just added. Baseball, we just go extra innings, but at least there is a conclusion in baseball. We'll get a winner. They're not going to give you some stupid tie. NBA, you've got your overtimes. Like, and you're right in hockey. If you're not in the postseason, you can play a 20-minute overtime period, essentially a whole extra period, and still have no winner. Very, very disheartening and kind of hard to. If you really want to break it down, it's hard to figure out what percentage you are as far as a winning team when you add in these ties. In hockey, they give you points. In the NFL, they don't. And this is something that came to my mind on Sunday when Jeff Saturday's Colts nearly beat the Eagles, which seemed improbable, and then the Eagles pull off that 1-point victory. The Colts would have been 5-5-1. And I'm thinking about the AFC South with respect to that. And I'm thought, do they leapfrog? Is it still a 500 team? Do you get added points? I've never really figured out how the tie goes into factor your winning percentage, but it does something quirky. I mean, that is for sure. It skews the whole record thing. And shit, the Colts might actually be the only team to finish this year like 8-8, 0-1. Because then
because of that stupid tie. Yeah.
The stupid tie.
I mean, like with the soccer thing, isn't it like a 3-hour deal anyway? So you're sitting like 3 hours of, hardly any scoring, and then it ends in a 1-1 tie. That just seems like a waste of time. It's like there's no winner. You both walk away equal. So what was the point?
That was the point of introducing this en masse to the American public. It really was. The idea behind this, and listen, when I was 10 years old, I was already an asshole. So I'll just put that out there. That didn't change much. I was already an asshole at 10. But the idea of everyone winning, everybody getting a trophy, everybody being the victor, was something that I bristled at. So 10 years old, we're in the championship for the YMCA League in Vegas. We lose in the championship game. They give us this little trophy. Like the other guys get this huge trophy. They give us this little trophy. What do you want me to do with this shit? Take it back. I didn't win. Why are you giving me a trophy? We lost. Like, why are you trying to
give me a loser trophy?
No, I don't want that.
You have a loser trophy. That's why it's so small.
Exactly. That's why, for what that's worth, I never put those things up in my house. It was always like, you can't have the trophy for best loser. That just doesn't feel right to me. Either we win or we don't. You play to win the game, Herm Edwards. And that's one of the things that I just always bristled at. To go back to soccer, that's kind of the idea. You introduce this to an American public en masse, and then you get to have all these kids, 100 of them, mixed boys and girls, all in the field, the same thing, pitch, whatever. And nobody wins, nobody loses. But the parents got to go outside, sit on the grass for a couple of hours, yell at somebody who is 19 and trying to officiate these little fuckers, and feel better about their own lack of athletic prowess, right? Like, that's really what I get here. It's like Jimmy and Johnny and Janie, they don't win or lose. But I, damn it, get to yell at this kid and dress him down because of his officiating skills in the midst of a soccer game. Okay, all right, look. We can't make a corollary. It's not a direct one-to-one. I'm just saying, you put David Schwimmer, you put Taylor Swift, and you put soccer together in a combined pool. I'm gonna tell you, man, the results are gonna look a little wonky.
Was that the Coos, or is that somebody else?
The Coos. That's
the Coos.
The Coos.
What's up, Coos?
Todd Vercruyze.
Me
too. Me too. By the way,
I want to win a trip on your cruise. Blues cruise with the Coos.
You have no idea how actually real to life that is. So Todd Vercruyze, Midwest Mortgage Team, my buddy Mike Garcia and I were actually hanging out for a bit last night before I played bingo with Mom at the recovery room. Todd Vercruyze, Chad, is the number one mortgage broker in Land Home Financial's entire network, and this covers multiple states. So the Midwest Mortgage Team, we've talked about this before. If you're thinking about getting a mortgage and mortgage rates have fallen, you got to talk to these guys, Mike Garcia, Todd Vercruyze, because they know what's up. And again, Todd, congratulations for being the number one mortgage broker in your entire company.
Tying in sports is BS. A big F you to your time spent, as bad as forcing yourself to learn a dance.
Oh my God. I feel like the FCC is going to come and like try to admonish us, like even on the internet. You must like Taylor Swift. What are you thinking here? All right, we got more.
I wasn't advocating violence, by the way. That's just expression.
I know.
And I understand she's talented. It's just the whininess of it, and then the oversaturation of it. There's just too much of it. You know what I mean? It's like if I had a little bit of it, I'd be all right. But it's like every time anybody has the radio on in the office, it's a Taylor Swift song. I try to watch football. There's Taylor Swift doing commercials. And then she multiplies herself in the commercials. There's like 8 of her. I'm just like, dear God, make it stop, please.
Listen, and she's a good-looking chick, and she's talented. She is. I mean, like all of that is to be said. She's very good-looking, very talented. The oversaturation, though, this is something that I don't know that you can get away from, because Taylor Swift is the only artist in American history, Chad. I saw this the other day, too. I don't know why, but I did. That scored like every one of her 10 songs on her album or digital download or whatever were top 100 chart songs. Every one of them on that, which means either A, there is no good music being made, which is not true. That is not true. I tell you, there's a lot of good music being made. But this is something that we know, and this is something that we had dealt with for many years. And this is why we're doing the program right here this morning the way that we are. You are forced to a certain kind of style. You're forced to a certain kind of popularity. And if the people that have the power behind these radio stations or whatever don't decide that they will promote you, it doesn't get promoted. And therefore, a lot of good music, a lot of great artists never see the light of day because somebody else has got an interest in promoting this one. And so the things that we're given are largely not what we could actually, they're not what we could find because they're out there, but you have to search for them. It's not just going to pop up now like some DJ in the 70s, like, hey, I'm going to spin you a cool B-side. I'm Johnny Fever. That's why I fucking wear these glasses, man. I love Johnny Fever. He wouldn't be able to get a job in radio today if he tried. There's just no way.
Pretty sure Johnny Fever would not like Taylor Swift, by the way.
I don't think so. I mean,
he'd be not so Swift on Taylor Swift. That'd be my guess.
Well, I don't know. Johnny, you never know how much he might have changed over. We're not sure.
Okay, so the West Texan, which I love his nickname, Mike Byers here.
Mike.
So he's obviously the math guy you told me about. For calculating NFL winning percentage, don't they use a half a point? So 5 and 5 and 1 equals 5.5. Wow, that's mathematically the same, not counting a tie. That doesn't make sense. It's too early in the morning for me to comprehend that. But yes, that sounds about right. That's probably right, huh? Half a point? Yeah. Okay. Either way, it's a waste. Either way,
it's a waste. And it's a waste of, like Eric from La Crescent said, it's a waste of our time as fans and audience members. It's also the waste, I would assume, if you're an NFL player, especially an NFL player, right? Like soccer, who cares? Nobody cares. Sure. But if you're an NFL player, that's got to feel like, I mean, almost worse than a loss. Because at least if you have a loss, you can go back, you look at the film, you chop it up, and you have to know what to do differently, better next time. When you go back to a tie, I mean, I just think of Rosie Perez. Sometimes when you lose, Billy, it's you really win. And sometimes when you win, you really tie. Well, no, except for in this case, we actually tied. What do we do now? And that's where if I'm an NFL player, I'm very upset about the whole thing.
Yeah, let's watch the film and see how we match the guys we just played exactly.
See if we can do wait, nope, we can't do that. Shit, we tied. Foreman, Chad, does want to reach out and say Nipsey Hussle did it without radio. You familiar with the great Nipsey Hussle?
Yeah, of course, absolutely.
Well, he's dead. So just let you know.
Well, thanks.
Posthumously, you can listen to some Nipsey Hussle. Very talented West Coast rapper.
All right.
Last night, Chad, the Milwaukee Bucks playing the Portland Trailblazers at the Fiserv Forum got a 119-111 victory over Portland. Again, watching that game over at the recovery room while we were playing some bingo was a real treat because Giannis Antetokounmpo and company, they came out with their hair on fire. Drew Holiday scored 13 of his 17 points in the fourth quarter. And Pat Connaughton made his season debut for the Bucks, played just about 19 minutes, finished with 7 points. In 16 minutes. Really good to see Pat Connaughton out there. Apparently, Chris Middleton's been playing some warm-up basketball with the G League Herd, so it feels like he'll be getting back into the rotation pretty soon. Chad, a couple of days after Giannis and the Bucks lose to the Sixers, this game against Portland wasn't a must-win by any stretch because we're not in that place of the NBA season, but you were hoping for a bounce back, and Giannis again last night really showed why. At this point in time, he is the best and most dominant player in the NBA. He just ran roughshod over Portland, who isn't without their own talents. I mean, Portland's been having a really good season, but Giannis 16 of 24 from the field, 7 boards, 6 assists, 35 minutes. The Bucks now 12-4 on the season, improved to 9-1 at home, have now tied with that win last night the Boston Celtics for best record in the Eastern Conference. Boston had been on a 9-game winning streak and lost last night to the Bulls. So this is funny. The Boston Celtics, who went to the championship last year, look like they have kryptonite in the form of the Cavs and the Bulls. The only 4 losses that the Celtics have suffered this season have been to Cleveland and Chicago. So there's like something about the division, right? Like the central division of the NBA's Eastern Conference that feels like it's a bit of kryptonite for Boston. But again, this win last night for Milwaukee puts them back to 12-4 on the season, ties them with Boston right now. Again, not that there's any uber urgency because of where the season is at, but you don't want to see yourself slip too far behind a team like Boston, if for no other reason, the momentum and the mentality that carries through with the team like that. Boston, they came out, I wouldn't say of nowhere last year to make it to the NBA Finals, but that was a really surprisingly good run to the NBA Finals. They looked strong. I'm a little surprised that Boston's playing as well as they are without their coach, Ime Udoka, but you know, for what it's worth, again, this Bucks team getting that victory last night ties back with Boston and puts Milwaukee, what I would say, in, you know, pretty good shape for the rest of the season. We're only 16 games in, but you keep yourself in the top 2 or 3 of the Eastern Conference, which is where Milwaukee needs to be, and you're pretty much set for the postseason because this is a team built for the postseason.
And then there was no Dame Lillard last night, though, correct?
No, there was no Dame. No Dame.
So it wasn't a full force Trailblazers, but as you say, they're a talented team, and I did see a highlight because they didn't broadcast that here. I didn't get to see that game, but I did see a highlight of Giannis dunking on somebody that was pretty wicked.
Yeah, Yusef Nurkic just got himself into the Giannis poster. So Giannis, and almost like the picture that we've got on our screen, which isn't from last night, but it looked a lot like that.
It's very similar, yes.
Very similar. And this is something that you've talked about before. I mean, how do you stop a guy who is 7 feet tall? And if they don't count him at 7 feet, it's because he doesn't want them to, right? Like Kareem always asked for 7'1" and Kevin Garnett for 6'11". So if they don't list him at 7 feet, fine, but he's nearly 7 feet tall. How do you defend somebody who dribbles like a point guard, who passes like a point guard, who runs the floor like Shaq and has moves like, I wouldn't say Kobe or any guard, but almost more like Olajuwon? Like,
Yeah.
How do you guard that? What's the recipe here? Like, you go into the locker room or you even go into your game plan. Do you just kind of throw up your hands and say, well, it's 5-on-1. You guys do the best you can out there because he's going to fucking wreck them.
Yeah, the only thing you can do is double team him, hope he has a cold shooting night, send him to the line, hope he struggles on the line. That's all you can really do. When he's actually hitting his jump shot and he can throw in a couple threes, he's almost unstoppable, because then you have to guard him from 30 feet out. And, as you mentioned, he can either dribble his way into a good position, pass his way, get the ball back. I mean, you can play the, two-man game. I mean, he's just too dominant. He's just too dominant. His footwork is similar to Olajuwon, not quite as good as Olajuwon. I don't think there's anybody that's had footwork like that, but he's clearly worked on that part of his game. And when he did struggle over the last couple of games, that's what you saw, right? Is he struggled on the line. He struggled shooting a little bit. And so his numbers weren't quite as great. But when those two things are on, he's unstoppable. And I would say right now, Luka and him are probably the top tier for MVP.
I would agree. And Dallas right now, because their record isn't as solid as you would want it to be for an MVP at this point, I can put Giannis and I think that we're overlooking Jason Tatum right now as well for the Boston Celtics, because
he would be third in my list there.
Yeah, Jason Tatum is definitely deserving with the team's record, and that always has something to play when it comes to the MVP, really, except for Russell Westbrook when he averaged that first triple-double since Oscar Robertson and empowered a really average Thunder team to the postseason. It's generally been one of the top 2, top 3 teams in the conference with the player that's playing as well as Giannis or a Luka Doncic or a Jason Tatum. Boomstick, Eric from La Crescent Chat, asking, when will Chris Middleton be back? We're not exactly sure, but it feels like it's going to be in the next couple of games. So Middleton has been playing some warm-up hoops with the G League's Herd, which is in Oshkosh. And from what I've gleaned recently in the last couple of years, the Bucks medical staff seems to give these guys 3 or 4 games in the G League, bring them back up for a practice. If everything's good, they're going to be back on the court. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Middleton back on the floor in major minute action by the 1st of December. That would be, I would say, a little bit of the worst case scenario. Best case, we could probably see him back in next week. I mean, at least for a couple.
I was going to say, I thought that was kind of the target from the original timeline that I saw, was sometime in the beginning of December. And if he is playing with the Herd, and as you said, that's kind of their normal way they bring guys back, that makes sense. So I would say before, maybe even just say before Christmas.
Yeah,
right? Because
well before Christmas.
Prime time games and stuff. They get him in a couple of games. Maybe they bring him off the bench for a while until he's ready to rock and roll full time, and they put him in the starting lineup. And I would say by Christmas, he's going to be in the starting lineup, and they're going to be, hopefully if there's no other injuries, they're going to be the team that they hopefully have going into the playoffs.
Well, for sure. And then you add in a guy that's never even played for this Bucks team, Joe Ingles, and you've got yourself another really dynamic shooter. And especially from from a left-handed guy's perspective, those left-handed shooters, they're hard to stop. I know it sounds crazy, but guys are used to defending people that are right-handed, and lefties give defenders trouble. Listen, if you want to win Bucks tickets, I know we've talked about this before. We'll continue to pound this in to your memory. Go to the recovery room. Get yourself an Absolute or a Jameson shot or cocktail. You get an entry slip to see the Bucks and the Kings on December the 7th. Now, on the 30th of November, that's not this Wednesday, but next Wednesday, we're going to have a huge party at the recovery room where you've got a chance for double entries. Again, the game's coming up December 7th, Bucks versus the Kings. And with that win last night, Chad, the Bucks are now 9-1 on the season at home. When we come back, the head coach of the University of Wisconsin Lacrosse's Eagles football team, who finished the season 9-2, Coach Janus will join us here on the program. Stay tuned. We're broadcasting live from the Trauma Center studios. Preferred Insurance is the official auto, home, business, flood, and life insurance agency of the Sports Carnival, serving folks in La Crosse and surrounding areas with licenses in Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Iowa. As an independent insurance agency, Preferred Insurance is free to find the very best insurance for you, your family, or your business needs. Call my friends at Preferred Insurance today and set up a free consultation. Remember, working with an independent agency means Preferred Insurance works for for you, with you, to find the best solutions at the best prices. Now more than ever, if you're looking to buy or sell your first home or perhaps an investment property, you need a full-time dedicated real estate agent who is up to date on all the latest trends and analysis and is ready to give you the kind of service that you deserve. That's why the official real estate agent and the official real estate partner of the Sports Carnival is Kyle Cable of One Trust Real Estate. Whether you're looking to buy or sell your first home or perhaps you are a seasoned investor, call the official real estate agent partner of the Sports Carnival, Kyle Cable of One Trust Real Estate.
Back to the Sports Carnival, broadcasting live from the Trauma Center studios. Isn't it great to live in the 21st century where deleting history has become more important than making it? Now here's your host, Dave Kearney.
Do I get to delete from the record that I'm an asshole then? Because that would be something.
No, that's indelible.
That's almost like carved in stone, isn't it?
It is.
It's like a Taylor Swift Rosetta Stone. It's just there. It's there for all of history to be able to take part in. Well, if you're joining the program right here, right now, you're in a good spot because UWL's head football coach, great friend of the show, Matt Janus, is joining us here. And Coach Janus, I know that this morning there's probably still a little bit of, sore feelings losing to Watburg on Saturday, 14-6. But, man, you guys at the university, the football team, made us so proud this year with how you played on the field, how your guys conducted themselves in the community, and the season that you had. I know it didn't end the way that you wanted it to, but it was something to behold. I've enjoyed every single game, home and away. The broadcasters, Drew and Terry, that did such a great job this year, walking through the entire season with you guys, need a shout out. I'm sorry that it ended like this, Coach, but you guys had a great season, man. Can't take anything away from you.
Hey guys, I appreciate it. It was hard to end it. It sucked to end. We just didn't play our best game for whatever reason. I don't know. There's try to reflect on it all, right? And there's probably 9,000 things that go through your head of why we didn't play our best game, but we didn't, and we still had a position put ourselves in a position to win that game. We just couldn't make the couple plays that we needed to. So it sucks. We had but you are right. It was a great year, a great season. We were able to accomplish one piece of our vision. So our vision at the start of this year was 34-4, win our 34th conference title, and win our 4th national championship. And so we were able to chip away at one of it. And now the numbers will change as we go into next season. And now it's about 35-4. So it was a really fun year. We had a great group of kids that they really loved what they did. They loved playing football at UW La Crosse. They loved going to school here. So we had a group that loved what they did. We had a group that loved where they got to do it at. They loved our university. They loved our city. And most importantly, they loved who they got to do that with, right? They loved playing with each other. It was a really special group. And, it's just kind of stinks. Yesterday we had our end of the season meeting, and we had to dismiss our seniors. And that was kind of hard. That's a group, for me, it's very, very close with. That's a group that came in with me, right. So I had some part of the recruiting process with them, whether it was, whether I was just a coach on staff or whether I was actively involved with the recruiting class or with the recruiting process. So I got to kind of be there for that. And then I got to be there, or I was on staff when they committed and it said they were Eagles. And then I was there when they showed up on day one, as how that freshman look in their eye. And then you get to see that whole thing play through. They have COVID and they don't have to play for a year. They can't play for a year. And then, to see them walk on senior day. So to see all the accomplishments. So really just a tremendous group of seniors that we had. And it sucks. That's the hard part. Obviously, you coach football, you love football, you love the competition on Saturday, right? But the reality is you coach for that, right? That you coach to see those journeys that those guys make when they're 18 to 22 years old, as they learn to grow up and become a man, like you're alongside. And obviously you see their successes on the field. You see a lot of their successes, but I'm also there for their failures, right? And I get to watch them fail, whether it was something as simple as failing on a test or a girlfriend breaking up with them or maybe more personal adversity. So you get to see them, as they learn how to deal with that during this young stage of their life. And you get to see them kind of go all the way through to walking through that tunnel on senior day with their parents to a group that's over the last 2 years gone 18-5, that has two playoff appearances, won a conference title. I mean, that's a pretty special group that kind of walked out the door yesterday. So that kind of sucks. And it does suck. It doesn't kind of suck. It sucks. But if you reflect on it, just how happy and how proud you are of their career.
So, Chad, this is why we're so lucky in Wisconsin, especially here in lacrosse, to have guys like Matt Janus as the coach of a football team. Because when you listen to Matt talk, and Matt, I'm just reflecting for you, I'm just thinking about all the kids that are out there that are thinking about where they're going to go play football. If I was a kid that was in that sphere and I was thinking, man, I want to go play football in the WIAC, I don't know how I wouldn't gravitate towards UWL. Just listen to how much you love these kids. I realize that's, it's hard when you lose your seniors, but how much time do you really have in between, saying goodbye to these guys that have been such integral parts of this team? Like you've mentioned, you've been a part of their lives for 4 or 5 years. How much time do you have in between saying goodbye to these guys, shaking their hands, dapping it up, giving them hugs, and hitting the road to go find this next crop of players and, kids that are going to come to the U and continue on with this legacy?
Not very much. I'm actually heading out today to a few area spots, and
there you go.
But there's not very much time. And like in our coaches, like they've done a good job throughout the season. Like we stay on top of it. We've had kids that come for some game days, but I'm not one of those coaches who think you just recruit all season. And like I don't want that, because I feel like you're cheating on your current team, right? So there's like kind of like that Goldilocks right in the middle of what you have to do, because you can't just do nothing all year, right? You can't do nothing all season, and then you're going to get to now. But like I've tried to preach that to our staff. Our staff's been really good about it. We put some time in, but our main focus will always, and it always will be when I'm the head coach, it always is our team, our current team. And then we'll text guys and we'll get them onto campus and we'll get them onto some visits. And so now, like, it's funny you say that now the season's over. You have this exit meeting, and like all day yesterday, it's, phone calls and FaceTimes and, setting up visits and getting all this. And it just kind of kicks into the next season, into the next competition. I think as coaches, it's probably like maybe like a mental therapy maybe there with you, because you just kind of move into the next, you don't pout. You can't like sit there and dwell on Saturday as much as you want to. Like we kind of got Sunday to pout. And then it's like, hey, we got to hit the ground running. This is the next season now. Here's our next competition. I'm going against all these WIAC schools. Again, it's not on a football field. It's, talking to a high schooler about coming to our school and making our place a home.
Well, I noticed when you popped on, Coach, that you had your recruiting face on. I noticed you shaved. I think the one disadvantage you may have when you meet parents is that some parents may think you're a student. You look really young without your beard. Holy crap.
I guess that's a good thing. I don't know if you see the top of the head, though. There's quite a few grays from this season, I think. So.
Just wear a hat. You'll be fine.
So, Matt, you've done such a great job recruiting area talent, something that a lot of folks, when I first moved to lacrosse, were looking forward to, is attracting some of the area's talent from the likes of Holman and Aquinas and some of these other local hotbed schools that are producing some good football talent. You've been, really good at getting some of these kids aboard. Do you think that part of your recruiting process is something that's going to become easier and easier now with the success that you have had and even prior to you with Mike Schmidt? Because, the area is starting to wake up to the fact that, hey, this university is playing good football. They are playing in games that matter. They're looking for quality athletes, but they're looking for quality students, which is also a big part, Chad, of what the UWL experience is all about, not just athletics, but about academics. Do you think the success that you've had recently, though, has like opened the eyes even more to the area parents and kids and saying, hey, this is a great place. We don't have to leave home. We've got something right here.
Oh yeah, no doubt. And I was able to see like the journey of this program, right? Like, so like when Mike took over, we weren't in a very good spot. It wasn't very good. And so like, obviously Mike built it and then obviously took over on some of that success. But yeah, I've been able to see that change. Like when I first got here, it was, and now it's like you talk about kids now that have gone for 6 straight years where this program has had success. And so now, you talk to the kid, they don't remember us when we had struggles before. They've only known us now, from their middle school up until now, where we've had success and we've been ranked in the, for the last 2 years, we've been ranked in the top 25 every single week. So that's what the area I think has known, and that's awesome, and that's really special because we sat together yesterday. That was our first meeting, 9 a.m. yesterday, and we're going to win on the area kids first. And that's what we're going to do. We have great football around us. I mean, I think everybody knows what happened with a couple of teams here and how far they got and how far they advanced. One of them wins it. The other, is at Madison. So we know we have some really talented kids, and that's our job to keep them home. And we're going to try our best to make sure that they play that, because our programs also, if you look back over the last 6 years, a lot of our success has been because of area kids, because of guys from this area, and some of our best players have been from this area and had such a huge impact. So I think that's also really unique for kids to see the success of Ryan Byrne, for instance, and to see Ryan have that type of success over his career. And you go back a little further, Noah Risch and Kyle Cable and Ryan Weber, and to see they get to see that success. And so there's these guys that maybe were freshmen when those guys were seniors, and they get to follow along with their career. And so, that certainly helps as well. But not only is there good talent, but it's talent that has helped us too.
Yeah, Ryan Byrne, the name that we have talked about, a kid that we've talked about, I should say, a number of different times here on the program, is somebody who I think is going to get at least a tryout with an NFL, a CFL, with somebody, because the kid's got a boot. Let me ask you, though, about a couple of other players, Joey Stutzman in particular. Then I want to ask you about Cade Garcia. Cade actually had a pretty good game in what was not great weather. I mean, that looked cold. I was feeling the cold through the television screen, and I'm telling you, I was in a pretty warm spot, but it felt cold inside. But Cade had a good game, too. But let me ask you about Joey Stutzman. So what do you think Joey is, and maybe you already know, what is his plan for post-W football? Because this guy, for the last 2 years, Chad, has been the most dynamic running back in the entire WIAC, and it's not even really been close. He reminds me of one of those guys in the NFL that can really, because of their small stature, break through lines, really get almost like a Ray Rice type, except for possibly not as big and powerful in that respect. But what are you hearing from Joey about his future plans?
Well, as of right now, Joey has to finish his student teaching. Okay. Joey's got a pre-student teaching. I believe he's in one of the local area schools actually right now. I think he's in it 2 days a week with kind of pre-student teaching and that kind of start. And then next semester, he will be heading back home to the Chicagoland area. He's going to be student teaching at a high school. I think it's kind of in the northwest suburbs. So he'll finish that student teaching, and then we're going to talk. I'm not sure what Joey wants to do. I told him I think he should keep playing. I think if you get opportunities, whether it's in Europe or whatever, I think you try to play as long as you possibly can play. So we'll see with that. Or I don't know what he's going to do. I don't know if he's going to teach. I see him being a college coach. I don't think he can stay away from the game of football. I think he's addicted to it. I told you that. So I'm going to obviously try to get him on staff, but I could also see him kind of going that route too of maybe coaching. I know he's talked. He's kind of been all over. Talked a little strength and conditioning, possibly. He's talked even being maybe a firefighter. I think he's got some friends that are firefighters. So he's going to figure out, see how student teaching goes here next semester, and then he'll figure that thing out.
All right, so Cade Garcia, quarterback. Cade Garcia, he and Kaiser Helterbrand split the time for the entire season. Again, this was something that you and the coaches had devised before the season started. So I know that Cade's a senior now, right? This was his senior season. What about Kaiser? I forget. Was he also a senior this year?
Well, Kaiser is only a sophomore. So he is only fantastic. A sophomore. He's technically, fantastic. I think he's a junior in the classroom, so he probably have to look at some grad school in order to use his full eligibility. But we had the COVID year, and then he was out last year with the foot surgery, so he wasn't available last year. So he's still got 2 more left, and obviously we're excited with what he had done. It stinks that he got hurt and couldn't finish the year, and we certainly could have used him. But injuries happen. That's part of the game. And so I know he's getting that taken care of pretty shortly here, and he'll start his road to recovery, and away we go.
Yeah, Chad, it was unfortunate that Kaiser wasn't able to finish out the end of the season, because even in that game against Platteville for the final regular season game, you could see a couple of places in which he would have been just a massive benefit. And I would expect on Saturday against Wartburg, there would have been a lot of opportunities for a guy like Kaiser to get in and really do some fun things. Again, the final score 14-6. It was a nail biter, and there were some times in the second half where I thought, as you guys were driving, on Wartburg that you were going to be able to punch it in and get this thing. As it stands, Wartburg moves on. The Eagles finish the season 9-2. I'm really excited that Kaiser's going to come back next year. Cade, let's just give him a quick shout out here. Had a great season. Any thoughts about his future plans? What's he up to, at least from what you know?
Well, I believe right now he is kind of finishing. He's going to be finishing his application for the Naval Academy. So he's going to kind of go that route, and that's a pretty big. That's a pretty big deal, and it's a pretty extensive application. We got some guys that are doing some crazy things, some amazing things. Our center, Alex Bongers, is in kind of finishing up PT school. So not only has he been at practice every day, he's also taking clinicals. Like he's in graduate school for physical therapy. Cam Sorensen's going to go down the pre-law. I mean, he's taking his LSATs, right? That's the law one. He's taking that in the middle of the season. I mean, we got guys that are not only phenomenal football players, not only phenomenal people, but are doing some crazy things, some really high level stuff in the classroom.
Well, shout out to the Eagles seniors and shout out to everybody at the University of Wisconsin Lacrosse, yourself included, Matt, and all the coaches. Too many to name right here. You guys have just done such a great job, and we're just so proud of you. I mean, we really are. Everybody that I have talked to this entire season has just raved about this Eagles team, and we can't wait to see you guys back on the field next year. I can't wait to talk to you again next week. Now, Chad, we might be talking to Matt on the road at some point because, you know, the recruiting trail, it gets pretty hot and heavy, but we've got the technology and Coach Janus, we just love having you on and appreciate every minute that you've given to us so far this year. We couldn't have done it without you, man.
Thank you, guys. Coach. I appreciate all the support, and we'll talk next week, and go Eagles.
Go Eagles, baby.
The official mortgage team of the Sports Carnival is the Midwest Mortgage Team of Land Home Financial, my good buddies Mike Garcia and Todd Vercruzzi. Listen, we all know the mortgage industry is in a bit of an upheaval right now, and that's why it's more important than ever to go to a couple of guys that you can trust, a local operation right here in La Crosse. That is the Midwest Mortgage Team. Again, Michael Garcia and Todd Vercruzzi of Land Home Financial. Don't make a mistake with your mortgage needs. Go to the official mortgage provider of the Sports Carnival, the Midwest Mortgage Team, Mike Garcia and Todd Vercruzzi.
Do you have a wedding, anniversary party, or bat mitzvah coming up in your life? Then you need Hey Duda DJ Services, featuring Neil Duda, the Midwest M&M.
No doubt about it, I'm done hammered, and that's every day. Brains are cloudy, dog.
Dropping sick beats while you enjoy your treats. No party is too big or too small. Quinceañeras, graduations, ice cream socials, or cocktail parties. Whatever the celebration, Hey Duda is rocking the foundation.
Here we go again, back with all our friends. Here comes the pain.
Neil Duda.
Back to the action live from the Trauma Center studios. This is the one and only Sports Carnival. When in doubt, mumble.
You know, I think that must be the go-to for everybody in my son's generation now. Do you know what I nicknamed this little dude?
Demure?
No, Whispers. Because I'm like, wait, what? Can you speak up? Like, where did everybody get this mumble factory from? You're right. When in doubt, mush it up and just kind of trail off.
I thought you were calling him the Mewer because he's mewing. He's probably right now mewing somewhere, making sure that his bottom chin is not too loose and flabby.
He better not be. He's out there working on First American Siding Crew. So if he's doing that, he's going to fall off his ladder. That's what he's going to do. Don't mute too.
Oh, he's siding? He's putting up siding right now?
You betcha.
In the snow?
You know what? It's not snowing. It's warming up. It's going to be like a spring day out here. It's 43 degrees is our high temperature. Hey, listen, First American Siding, they work throughout the entire winter. Now, the thing that I gave John recently that I think he's actually the most appreciative of, which it'd be hard to tell, you know, what kid appreciates anything. But I would say if I were to guess, the thing that he would be most appreciative of were the flannel-lined Wrangler jeans, right? Like the thick flannel-lined Wrangler jeans. Those things, I mean, I was unaware that they were manufactured before I moved here. I'd never needed them, right? Just never even thought or considered that to be a thing. They're almost like a shield of protection. You feel like you're in, I don't know, King Arthur's court when you wear those deals, because it's like, dude, if Merlin could have protected me any better, I doubt it. These are just the best. So if I were to say John's appreciative of one thing outside of his, you know, desperately good looking face, thanks to me, it would be those flannel line jeans.
Okay. Nice. That's great. I like how you compliment yourself while you compliment your son. That's great.
Well, he didn't just pop out of nowhere, did he? No, not exactly. P12 Foreman, what are the plans for lunch today? Nothing. We've got real estate business going on today. So Kyle Cable, One Trust Real Estate Chat, is my real estate agent, and we're actually having to sell my house. All right. So the house is going on the market 1st of December. So today we've got the photographer coming over, which meant that yesterday I spent 6.5 hours making sure that every little nook and cranny was clean, only to come out this morning, emerge from my upstairs to find dishes in the sink and the dog having food on the floor. And I'm like, guys, really? This is how you're going to leave me and help me out? Okay, whatever. So that's the plan for lunch today, Foreman. Nothing. How's that?
You're selling your house. You're getting out of Stoddard. You're moving to town?
Moving to La Crosse, baby. Going to be taking over.
Look out, everybody.
The official Trauma Center studio is going to become even more official, uber official, extra official, with details to come on a need-to-know basis. But yeah, we're leaving Stoddard. It's one of those things, a little bittersweet, but it's a move that I think needs to be made. And right now, I don't know that there's a better time to move into the city of La Crosse. Like we talked to Matt Janus, UWL head football coach. The UWL men's basketball team, Chad, is playing incredible basketball right now. I don't get a chance to see these games at Mitchell Hall because, again, it's not that I can't be in town for it, but when you start to coordinate, I live in fucking northern Iowa, it feels like. You know, it's like you pack a little lunch, you put some hand warmers in your glove box, you got a big thing of water, and it's, you know, you feel like you've really got to make some sort of plan. And God forbid it starts to get inclement with the weather. You know, now you're starting to think about, well, where am I camping this evening? Because the roads could be nearly impassable. So, yeah, I got to get back to La Crosse because we've got too much good stuff, too many exciting things happening to not be in town. That's just, you know, that's just what it is.
You feel like you're close to Watburg at this point.
Yeah, exactly.
Or, excuse me, Wartburg. I apologize.
Don't get those twisted because we know that UW would have beat Watburg. Wartburg, those fuckers, they caught us, but Watburg, they would have gone down in flames.
I meant to ask Coach if he thinks Wartburg is the team to beat moving forward, or are they going to find an opponent that's going to kick their ass?
No, there's a couple of really good teams from Texas. There's the University of Whitewater, the team that beat UW at home by a field goal this year. They're right outside of Milwaukee, and so by comparison, the UWL home stadium holds like maybe 4,000 people, right? Like maybe 4,500 people with the new expansion across the field. Whitewater Stadium, I want to say, holds like 12,000 people. So that's a really big school. Like it really is for the WIAC because there's no D2 in Wisconsin, Chad. There's Division I and then there's Division III. So if you're, let's say, not making it into the University of Wisconsin-Madison, you've got a couple of options. Whitewater and UWL are pretty much the two best options. But Whitewater being as close to Milwaukee, they get a lot of really good players. But there are some teams out of Texas that are really good in D3. It's going to be a tough road to hoe for Wartburg. They got lucky on Saturday. I will say this, because if Kaiser Helterbrand was playing, and we just talked to Matt Janus, Kaiser got hurt, I don't know that Wartburg would have been able to beat the Eagles because Cade Garcia, as good as he is, he's limited on the ground. Like he's got some wheels. He's able to scamper for a bit. But Kaiser Helterbrand, I think, was the third leading rusher in the conference this year. Outside of Joey Stutzman, some other guy, and then Kaiser Helterbrand, the running attack, it's almost like having a Lamar Jackson out there on the field, right? It really just puts the defense in a bind. You've got now an extra runner, and already the defense is now outmatched because you've got an extra offensive player. And if Kaiser would have played on Saturday, I think that the Eagles would have won. Wartburg got lucky, though, too, because there was a couple of great drives that just stalled out at the wrong time. And boy, UW got real close, man.
I know how you're probably going to answer this because I know who you are. But when you get beat by a team in a situation like this,
yes,
do you A, just don't pay attention anymore, or B, do you root for them, or C, do you root for another team because you don't want to root for the team that just beat you? Now, me, I wouldn't root for the team that just beat me. I would want to root for the team that's playing the team that just beat me.
So I'll tell you how I'm going to answer, and this is probably what you thought I would say. I want the team that beat me to then win, because if they beat me, I want to be able to say, well, they beat everybody, including us.
Okay, so if I would have beat them, then I would be the champion.
Yes. If I would have beat them, just them, I would have been the champion. That's the way that you can use mental gymnastics to work out your feelings.
I thought you'd be more spiteful. I thought you would say, no, I want that team that just beat me to get their ass kicked because I'm pissed off. That's what I thought you were going to say.
Yeah, personal pride makes me want to say no, because I want that team to then go on to great successes, so that when I look back and reflect, it's like, well, they caught lightning in a bottle. That was just their year. That was their season. They just had it. We ran up against a buzzsaw. There was nothing for us to do. That's the way that I would like to look at it.
I guess I'm the opposite. I would say that I would want them to get their ass kicked. I'd be like, I want Wartburg to go down in flames.
Well, Wartburg may go down
bitter.
in flames. Let's pull up that. Yeah, we don't want their actual bus to crash, but we do have.
No, I don't mean it that way. I don't mean it that way.
Okay, we're not talking about it like a Taylor Swift take, right? Like we're okay with them still being around. We don't need them to actually go up because we're not oversaturated with Wartburg. That's why.
Yes.
I was trying to remember who it was that Wartburg was going to be playing. So St. John's University out of Minnesota. This is another really tough team that Warp is going to have to play in Division III. So that game will be November the 26th. That's on Saturday coming up after Thanksgiving. I don't know much about Wartburg. What I do know about St. John's is that they're one of those schools, one of the blue bloods in D3 that's probably a bit more loaded than Wartburg. But it's tough for me to say because, again, once I go outside of the WIAC and I start to really look at some of these teams, Chad, it's like you. There's only so much that you can really focus on and pay attention to before your brain just goes like, okay, I can do Packers, I can do Bucks, I can do Brewers, I can do Badgers, I can do Eagles. I can't do Wartburg. Like there's only so many hours in a day. I can't do that one.
St. John's is from Minnesota, and you can see Minnesota from your house.
Yes, you can.
So logic would dictate you should be going for St. John's, even though you might not be able to St. John's University from your house. You can see Minnesota.
Yeah.
You cannot see Iowa, can you? You can't see Iowa.
Not from my house, but
Okay.
if you go to the top of Grandad Bluff, because they've got these, they're not mountains, they're called coulees, which are like large hills.
Yeah, no, those are mountains.
Okay. You go to the top of Grandad Bluff, and you can actually, on a clear day, see Iowa, Minnesota, and Wisconsin because of the way that it flows and all of the rivers, Chad. I mean, it's one of the most breathtaking vistas that I've ever been introduced to. But there is a place where you can see Iowa, Minnesota, and Wisconsin all in the same area. It's like being at Four Corners in Colorado, or it's like if you're in Vegas and you go down to Hoover Dam, or I should say Boulder City, and you can look at Arizona and look at Vegas. You can put your leg in one state, and then you can jump over to the other. It's
like being at Four Corners with higher cholesterol, basically.
Yeah. Yes. Higher cholesterol and a blood alcohol level of 0.8.
By the way, I thought coolies were those high water pants that the ladies wear. Not hills. I would call them hills. We call them hills here or mountains.
So
I don't know what a coulee is.
Coulee is a French term for little mountain. I believe that is where they got the terminology, French for little mountain. Chad, speaking of little mountain, we've got a little mountain to climb on our Twitter feed at the Sports Carney. It's called the Daily Poll Question. If the NFL offseason started today, what would be the biggest need for the Packers to address? UWL's Thomas went on our Facebook group page and did add in the coaching change that you suggested, okay?
And guess what's getting more votes?
The coaching change.
Yes.
Now, on Twitter, because Elon Musk uncoolly only allows 4 different choices to be used for Twitter poll questions, we had to break it into this. We had to break it down like this. Wide receiver, offensive line is one choice. Quarterback is another choice. Defense is a choice. And then special teams is a choice. Right now, 70% of respondents on Twitter, Chad, have wide receiver, offensive line, 10% for quarterback, 20% for defense. Nobody in for special teams yet. But again, our poll question up on our Facebook group page, heavily leaning towards replace the coach, which you brought up this morning and Thomas put up as an actual option.
Okay. Here, did you see? Okay, we get some explanation here.
Okay,
Bluff
there
is
you
the
go.
mountain, and coulees are the valleys or ravines. That makes more sense. Okay, because I was like, what the hell is a coulee? I never knew what that meant.
See, I heard it differently, but I'm glad that P1 Breacher is edifying me on this. I'm glad about that. Okay.
Yeah, nice work. I appreciate that when we get corrected. That's good.
Well, it makes more sense than why the bar that's at the bottom of Granddad's Bluff is called the Bluff side and not the Coulee side. Because that would have made more sense if the little hills, the bluffs, were actually coulees. Now it's really ringing together. It's ringing together, right, guys? Thank you.
Coulee could be another name for a beer. Like throw me a coulee.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Bush latte, coulee. I mean, it's interchangeable, is it not?
We really could use coulee as a catch-all for, hey, throw me a coulee. No, not that one. The one in the little small zigzag, that coulee. Like there could be a lot of different ways that you use Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
Thanks to our friends this morning, Kyle Cable, One Trust Real Estate, The Recovery Room, Preferred Insurance, Tony Rousso, Midwest Mortgage Team, the O'Neill Law Firm, and Joe's Helping Hands Landscaping. Guys, you keep us going here. We'll be back tomorrow broadcasting live from the Trauma Center studios.